are some of my favorite. Okay, well.
This is my favorite.
Oh, yes, these are so beautiful. I want that right there. I want to live in that house with those beautiful lilies.
Well, you're not getting the house, but you can get the iris.
That's true. And you know what? It'll make your house look even better. 3 pieces of the Reblooming German iris live plants. They are big. They bloom big in both, because they're reblooming, spring and then the fall. They are absolutely fragrant. They resist deer. And 3 pieces are coming home to you for $11.42 on Easy Pay.
I love these. Love these. And by the way, these are all big-time perennials. It's the first perennial that I love. And I recognized it when I was a child. Immortality is the first reblooming German iris ever. And it was discovered in a cemetery. And I just love that whole notion. It comes back and blooms in the fall. Solid white. Victoria Falls is a beautiful ruffled lavender blue. All 3 of these varieties are beautifully fragrant. And that's what I love most about them. I love the fragrance. And see the beautiful, how that leans out. When I was in my stroller and my mom is pushing me down. By the way, that's one of my gardens that I designed in Connecticut.
Wow.
I use these because they give me the big bang for the buck.
Yeah.
But I digress. So I'm being pushed in my stroller, and the iris is leaning out over the sidewalk. And my mother told me that I pointed up from the stroller to the flower and said, "Pretty."
Oh,
and I still think that. And I love these, but the big blooms on these, the beautiful fragrance, and also, again, not in a gigantic pot or bare root. Let me just get around here again. This is what I'm shipping out to you. Look, nice big iris plant that is good to go. You may get some blooms this fall with these, but next year you'll get it both times. Well-rooted plant. Don't plant them any deeper than they are in the pot. Let that thing show, that little rhizome, and also don't mulch it. That's one less thing you have to do. And you'll have these beautiful blooms for years and years to come. Fabulous.
That is just Easter to me. Easter joy right there in front of you. Well, I have to let you know that
that's where we had our pictures made.
Yes.
In front of the iris bed at Easter in Mississippi.
Oh, really?
Always.
Oh, yeah. That's what's, I must have seen these pictures or somebody's pictures, because that's what I'm picturing in my mind, is a beautiful little girl in a little dress and a little boy in his little suit with I used to wear the gloves in front of these beauties right here. That's the way to do it. That's very nostalgic. We are over half of what we brought in for the season. 1,200 orders already placed this season. And so if you want to make sure that you get this look, you're getting 3 pieces home for $11.42 on Easy Pay. Think about how many you would need to get the look that you would want. I mean, that picture that we saw, there are rows of them, and you can certainly do that, you know, leading up to your home, or...
That's the way Mama did it.
Yeah,
she had
what would
the
you...
long row, and we had on our Easter outfits, you know, getting ready to go to Sunday school, and got our pictures made right there in front of those irises. Plant these about 2 feet apart because they will make a nice big clump. And I like to have a dedicated iris bed. I don't put anything else with mine. I just have the iris there. Carolyn Gracie planted hers down by her mailbox down at the end of her driveway, because she gets them in the spring and also again in the fall. And also she says, you know, I can always get down there to water, and they still don't die. They always bloom, and the deer are not interested in them.
That's
look
huge,
at that look,
especially in this area.
White fence.
Oh, against the white fence. I mean, that is just pure nostalgia beauty right there.
They come back every year, and everybody's grandmother had irises, but not everybody's grandmother was a good gardener. And so they are that kind of easy.
Yeah.
But my grandmother had the irises, and I always loved hers, but hers only bloomed in the spring. And they were so beautiful. That was enough. And I thought, oh my gosh, when I moved to New York, I saw some. I lived in Queens for a while. There were some in front of the big apartment building there, and they bloomed in the fall. And I called my grandmother. I said, me mama, the iris is up here. It is so turned around in New York. They're blooming here in the fall. And then I discovered it was a special one.
Wow.
And it was the beautiful lavender blue ones that we have here.
How long do they last in each blooming cycle, in the spring and then in the fall?
They bloom generally for about 4 to 6 weeks
Oh, wow.
because they've got buds up. They've got buds up and down the stalk. And if you want to bring a flower in, what I do is I just clip off one of the blooms and leave the stalk out there. I don't cut the whole stalk, and then stick that one bloom in a narrow necked bottle. And that way I can enjoy the fragrance
So pretty.
and the beauty, and I have not depleted my plant. But there's the apricot silk. And it also has down deep inside that little a fuzzy part down in there. That's called the beard. It's got an orange beard. I mean, okay, then there we go.
Now,
It's
will these?
really
So will the
beautiful.
foliage still be there in between the two blooming times?
I'm so glad you asked that, because the ones that my grandmother had that only bloomed in the springtime, then the foliage would start to die and it looked ratty all summer long. But because these are getting ready to bloom again in the fall, they're sending up new foliage all during the course of the summer.
Beautiful.
So it always looks fresh. It always looks sculptural. And even in the images I took for my last book, I showed this with just the foliage, no blooms, and it really stood out in the picture because of the different silhouettes. You can see how the foliage is. You plant all kind of ornamental grasses and things like that for what we call texture. This gives great, great texture even when it's not blooming, but you have that to look forward to in the fall.
Just stunning. This is one of the homes
Yeah.
that you designed, the landscape, and I mean,
It's the favorite garden that I designed in Greenwich, Connecticut, and they turned me loose and I made it my own wonderland. And so I go back there and I visit and I stay and I look at the gardens there, and it feels like my garden because they let me make it my garden.
I love that.
and
That's what I
so there
would
are a lot
do.
of-
If I have your genius, I'm like, you go, you do what you want. Now, real quick, what do we do in the wintertime? Do you cut them back?
Well, what you can do is just cut off the bloom stalks. Don't cut the foliage back. Leave the foliage, because the foliage will, even down with its little rosettes, will maintain itself. And because they're late to come up, is that I would want to know exactly where they are, but just leave them alone. They are absolutely low maintenance. The only trick is in the fall, don't mulch them. They don't care for the mulch.
Okay.
So do not do that, and unto themselves, beautiful.
Beautiful. One apricot silk, one immortality, which is the white color, and one Victoria Falls, which is the blue. $11.42 for 3 pieces. They are fragrant and they resist deer. I might have to put those on my order as well. M82385 is your item number. Don't forget about our